Okay, we're back. How's the audio? Let's see how the audio is. How is the audio? Okay, how's the audio? Okay, great. We're here. Hi, Jasmine. How you doing today? I'm blocked at Facebook for a week because of Facebook's enabling this projections of internalized transphobia on each other, and then shit breaks out and they block people. And I got blocked for something that really, they're calling it harassment and bullying. Where I had come in, this woman was Dr. Z had posted a question about how people felt about HRT and the second right on the second. I'll be here all week. Fuck it. I just fucking had it with Facebook. It's just ridiculous. And I really need to not engage aggressive people from my private account. Straight up. Because here's what I got blocked for. After like 20 or 30 see, this is a conversation that I was just cut out of because of the bullshit. I was cut out of the dialogue with Antonia Diorce, who's like a doctor, talking about this crap, the same crap. So here's what I got blocked for. She is aggressively defending this. Then this was directed at Dr. Z, who was like on me for being the aggressor. And I said, she's aggressively defending this most petty point for no other reason than to piss in a lot of trans people's cornflakes to bolster her own ugly shitty self-esteem. Now, what in the fuck is in violation of community standards with that? Okay? I'm just burned over this one. Oh, they do it all the time. I've been blocked for a month for calling myself a dyke with a dick. I get a little too hard on the Trumpers. Bam, for a month. And I don't have enough weed. I haven't shaved today, and I've even combed my hair. Got out of bed, looked at this shit, and got sucked into it 5 hours ago. 4 hours? No, it was about 9:30 when I finally got up. I didn't go to bed until real late. Crazy. Here I am, a transgender senior citizen who has managed to get through my life with my sanity, with my health, and without killing anybody. And all day long, I'm doing the best I can to provide answers to questions that people are starving for, the information. And it's not just the trans people, but their families and the healthcare providers. And they just keep fucking me over like this to block out my voice. It's a form of censorship. It's discrimination, and they're censoring me. Now, meanwhile, they're encouraging all the aggression between people. Thanks, Jasmine. They're encouraging the aggression. It's just nuts. It's just totally fucking nuts. And it's all about cyber warfare. It's all about population control, keeping the people on each other instead of on the elites where they should. No, we're all being oppressed by the same thing: income inequality and unfair distribution of the power. This is what Dwight Eisenhower was warning us about. was the misplaced power that would be put in the hands of these overzealous people in control of the defense industry, which is not any kind of industry for defense. It's an industry for manufacturing and exporting war. Since 1945, the United States and its allies have slaughtered over 20 million people in 37 different host countries, victim countries. Today, they have bases, over 900 bases in 135 different countries. And the ranks are complaining about the despicable people that they're training with our technology to oppress their own people with. It's not sustainable. The planet's mad. The planet's fighting back. That hurricane's category 5 going to slam into shit. Unfortunately, it turned north and ain't going to slam into Mar-a-Lago. So, I better get I better put Ariana on alert. And Jenny. Yeah, two of my imaginary friends. Got all these imaginary friends and no real ones. I'm being told that by like unbelievable perverts hiding behind blank profiles that I'm fake. You know, we've been talking about this. It's so fucking insane. Oh, fuck. What did I do? Oh, there it is. I'm smelling myself. I'm hoarse. I'm shaking. Time to get away from my desk, hit the shower, and go out on the street. Oh, yeah. Here comes one. They never stop harassing me. Yes.
Hello, this is Ray from National Disability. Am I speaking with Tommy?
Who is this?
This is Ray from National Disability. Am I speaking with Tommy?
Yes. What's the purpose of your call?
Okay. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm not a sir, and I asked you a question. What is the purpose of this call on a holiday?
Okay.
Are you trying to sell me something? Yes. Yes, absolutely. You must remove this phone number from your call list immediately, please.
Okay, please excuse this call and we
No, I won't excuse this call, lady. Fuck off. On a fucking holiday from a telemarketer. Calling from a local number. Someone in an international call center with a Philippine accent calling from a local telephone number on Labor Day to sell me disability insurance. The best way to handle them when they call is you hit number 2. And if their system is set right, that just says, no, remove me. That's what Unix is saying. When you hit the 2 on the button, bam. Bottom will just, okay, done. You're removed. That's always fun to get shit like that when you're raging in front of a camera. My fan club loves that. And you know, I've been doing this for 20 years. All right. My first machine was capable of this, but the network wasn't. And that was 1999. And it became clear to me, you know, I've been battling trolls and shit all this time. I used to take them on 10, 20 at once, and they'd have a whole forum lit up with hate threads against me. And this was before I was even out as trans. This was just crazy old hippie political hack. You know, just hippie gonzo journalist as far as the internet's concerned. I've always been. I'm like a Hunter Thompson clone. And you know, this is me. I'm a hippie. I'm out in it and writing about it. What the fuck you want to write about as me? That's me. It's been me all along all my life. Because like you know, what I do on the street, busking and peddling shit, I've been doing that since I was a little kid. My parents only gave me 5 cents a week for allowance, and I was that big. I needed to buy my candy. And so anyway, I'm no different than I ever was. Really, this is me. This is what I've always been. I was told I couldn't be this when I was very little, and I said, no, fuck you. This is what I am. This is what I'm going to be. And so, like, you know, when it came time to finally come out, really all I'd always just been hiding myself behind a very thin veneer. So it was really just shave off the beard and stop pretending. So I get called out on that a lot for being like an opportunist, a fake tranny and shit. When really I've been, you know, chronicling the whole thing all my life. People are just like astounded at the knowledge base that I'm carrying around about the subject transgender. So let's see if we can't well, that's pretty good stuff. I'm gonna be coughing a lot because this is medicine, and I'm treating the upper respiratory distress that I have with it. And these people are oh, that's COPD. No, COPD is COPD. This is from histamine, reactions to dust and pollen, smoke in the air. You hear that? All the way up top. That had nothing to do with my lungs. What you're hearing is shit from up there falling down into here, and my lungs demanding that it clear before it fall all the way into my lungs. That's what's going on. Been going on all my life. So fuck off with the COPD shit. Come up in my face and take a swing, and I'll show you what COPD I got. See, this is a much more important discussion. Tony is like the main moderator for the International Transgender Health Group, and she says, a fresh reminder, as there have been some recent incidents, moderation basis. Three critical aspects of the moderation of this forum are: what is the context, what is transness, and what is transphobia, as those are the basis for many of the moderator team's decisions about the posts and comments here. First, understand that the context is always global and always with an individual understanding that the individual always with an understanding that the individual humanity and human dignity of persons, all people on all sides of the argument, need to be respected. And this is where the minefield it appears, because the jargon that's acceptable and appropriate to one faction is offensive to another, which is what blew up on Dr. Z's wall. Over the offense taken at the notion of the misconception that the second puberty really is. And this person was being a transmedicalist about it and standing on the technical terminology rather than accepting the emotional benefit from just going with it, because there's really no better term for what's happening anyway. So this means, among other things, that when one talks about trans people with a generalization, it has to apply globally. The ways and issues of trans people in the US are different from those in Malaysia or Africa or even the UK. The ways of trans people in the US are different from everywhere, except maybe Canada. We have advanced toward equality much further than any of these other countries. We're slipping backward with the Trump administration, because the children of the right wingers are, engaging in fights with the queer kids, and that's increasing the level of opposition. Because it was before Trump, it was basically people getting older and older and older, and fewer and fewer and fewer, and the kids were getting more and more queer. But now the straight kids are fighting with the queer kids, which wasn't really, this is what they've been trying to stir up since the Coy Mathis ruling. It's like the queer kids are showing up in the schools. This is what's going on at the Tucson School Board. We still got one more meeting. The vote is on the 10th. Hopefully we'll be celebrating. So they have something up their sleeve if it goes the other way. And I'm right there with them when it happens. Okay, so we have to, for myself, I'm sitting here in Tucson, and I'm presenting my observations of what's going on in the rest of the world from the Tucson perspective of, hey, this is how it should be done, I think. Please follow our example. Of course, then we have the trannier than Mao and racial, the reverse racism going on here. I'm sorry, but if you're going to come down on all white people just because they're white, that's wrong. And it's happening in Saga now. The white people are just taking up too much space, and we need to fill the board with people of color. Well, bye. I like an integrated crowd where everybody's equal. They treated my objections the other day as an intruder. You weren't in this conversation to begin with, so stay the fuck out of it. Well, hey, I'm a member of this community, and it's very offensive and disturbing to me to watch. So anyway, here's second. Transness is the state of awareness or condition in society of someone who does not conform in a majority of aspects to the way their society or culture sees them as behaving and living in relation to their culture's social construction of psychological sex, usually due to a variance between their physical sex and one or both of their social sex identity and or internal sex identity. It exists at the same level of awareness of self and is itself an awareness. I'm not sure. See, this is where Tony gets real confusing. I like to keep things real simple. I'm feeling as though the term transness is describing the perception of the straight people of transgender people and why transgender people, and then she goes on to explain why transgender people are not conforming to the society, that particular society's cultural standards. It's too complex, I think. This is what I'd asked her before, was like, well, we'll get to it. This is what's too complex. That means, among other things, that if your definition of what makes someone a real trans person relies on a diagnosis, or that they must have dysphoria, or that they don't do X, Y, or Z, that you are not following the rules of this forum. Indeed, you break two rules, because we do not tolerate attacks on the legitimacy of trans people. The position that the circle that brought me into it on this is everybody's valid. Transgender is an extremely broad term that only refers to some kind of disconnect between a person's sex organs and the gender expression of their brain. That, you know, it's just the disconnect between what your brain sees yourself as and what your sex organs are trying to get you to do. That's transgender. And all this other stuff is just like, you know, you don't have to have dysphoria. You don't have to transition. You just have to have something that's not matching. And it doesn't have to be like a severe mismatch. It could just be a little disturbance in the back of your head. There's something that's not matching between your sex and your gender. That's all transgender means. And it's an individual journey of it's a self-discovery thing. And the way things need to be, because there is such a nearly infinitely variable spectrum of sex and gender, the way they play out, that people need to, when somebody defines themselves, and this is what the group doesn't tolerate. When somebody defines themselves, you accept that definition and respect it and support their expression. Any kind of criticism has to be very constructive and very kind and very specific to some behavior that you believe is harmful to that person, not their general thing at all, ever. Third, transphobia is a measure of oppression, which is a violent status and is defined as aversion, anxiety, apathy, and or animus, singly or in combination, joined with the use of interpersonal, structural, institutional, cultural, or social power, such as stigma, law, language, etc. This is what transphobia is. It can exist in an internalized form, and it can be used and expressed by one trans person against another or group of others. Active, hostile intent is not required. If you use an historical stigma argument against transgender people, you are engaging in the use of power, systemic and structural, within the culture, specifically against trans people, which is an act of violence. Well, and this is what they bring to me. You know, the way my life has worked out, I'd much rather have a vagina, but I've adapted to being a woman with a penis. The Native American people see me as a two-spirit. The transgender people, the rainbow community is embracing me as a grandparent age transgender person who's walking around with a head full of shit that they want to know. And I do the best I can not to offend people. You know, I'm dealing with Ann Murdoch right now because she took offense to something I said that I had intended as follow-on to something she said, and she took it as a personal insult. And it's like, no, I didn't mean that, Ann, please. Annie's like one of the prominent, she's active duty transgender officer. You know, I don't want to be insulting people like that inadvertently. Oh, where'd it go? I lost what I was reading. Fuck. Oh, here it is. The moderators here are all volunteers, and all of them are engaged in the work to improve the lives of trans people in medicine, science, and culture. She didn't say in real time. It's not just there. These people are on the ground doing it. When you post a link, explain how that link is directly related to trans health and be specific and narrow. Everyone already knows the widespread rise of fascist leaderships around the world is harmful to trans people. What issue does the specific article speak to? Why do you feel it's important? Science by a tweet is not a very effective or useful way of doing things. So my comment, and I got the top comment here. I have no idea what specifically happened here in any recent incidents, but I see this happen regularly. I quoted, it can be used and expressed by one trans person against another or a group another. Active hostile intent is not required if you use a historic stigma argument against trans people. I think it's important that we practice restraint while we distinguish innocent ignorance from malicious intent when this occurs. Eating our own appears to me to be the biggest threat to our community that there is. Now notice I didn't, I said it appears to me because she's going to go off on this. We need to be mutually supportive, patient, and tolerant of baby trans people and new allies who are coming to us sincerely ignorant and eager to learn, while protecting ourselves from self-loathing trans people projecting their internalized transphobia on us. Even worse, we need to have some response for the challengers to the antics of people like Jessica Yaniv. Many people have pressed me for a statement about that recently. I'm saying the general consensus of the community is to disavow any representation of the community's goals in her doings, and nobody really wants to say more about her or any other individual getting into weird scenes that go viral. Somebody loved that. Who was it? I don't know. I never heard of that person. So she says, Antonia comes back with, bear with me here and follow along. I'm going to ask you some questions. What is the cause of eating our own? A fairly well-established practice among minority populations experiencing cultural oppression. How does ignorance provide protection from those actions? And here comes a trans man. I was called transphobic the other day. My reply included acknowledging that, of course, I was always keep a bit of internalized transphobia with me. I always try to be civil with others here, especially if they are members of our community. Antonia, if I ever cross any lines, please tell me directly. One crit is lock and post too early. Okay, so this is one of the persons that was involved in the spat. So my response to Tony was, gladly, Tony, I like the simple statement, and your well-tuned verbosity usually yields things I can distill into something more understandable for the layperson. I wish I could answer the first question, and my schooling isn't very deep in the psychology of things like cognitive dissonance and the emotional benefits of projecting the denial of one's own self-loathing on others to say much of merit to the second. But this is clearly what we're experiencing. We're a stressed population lashing out at each other. How do we temper this? So here she comes back. Before we move on, first look at how you highlight the issue of eating our own as a problem above. You mark it as the biggest threat. No, I didn't. I said I feel that it is. Making it more important of greater value than ensuring medical access throughout the world, or even just the US, and more key than housing and employment issues. Well, yeah, I do, because without solidarity, we won't have the political clout we need to do those things. This is why I feel it's so important. While a bit of exaggeration helps drive a point home, for that to be true, then there is some element that fundamentally drives it, something that could arguably be having an impact on employment, housing, medical access, and so forth. I agree with your point in those terms. So as a generalization, there is a point here. The cause, though, is stigmatization of the population. Most of the eating of our own is related to issues of purity over solidarity. I skipper. This is what I get off on. This is what got me blocked. Was like, hey, look, what you're saying is true, but it's too important to these other people to be getting so hard about it. That's what I got blocked for. be it in terms of who is a trans person or who trans people should act and behave this way, or even this strategy is better than that one. So to overcome it, the major need is to shatter the stigma based in a cis-centric system against trans folk, along with also recognizing that approaches which rely on that stigma do more harm than good, as well as that ultimately the fight for trans rights are a fight for human rights across the board, which is one hell of a tall order. And I see it being filled by the good humor, dignified, and coherent delivery of the facts directly to the people they're trying to make hate us, rather than arguing directly with the assholes that are hating on us. Because when we do, at least for myself, what I'm finding is the stronger my allyship is with the straight people, the more they're stepping in between me and the haters saying, hey, you're full of shit, go away. We want to hear what she has to say. So I know that the track I've taken is working. You know, it was about, I was, from, you know, I've been online for, I'm going on 21 years in January, but I've been full-time on the internet, living my life on the internet. And I got all my TV, radio, news, everything on the internet. All the people, you know, I have people that I've known in the real world for a long, long time. And my closest friends on the internet are people that I talk to on the phone regularly with, or have seen in person somewhere. You know, I have a lot of local friends I get together with here. You know, I go out on the street and I run into people that I'm friends with on the internet. I'm surrounded by people out to do the same thing as me, as educate and entertain people, have fun, and do the right thing in the face of crumbling empire. Okay, that's us. We're the misfits. We're the ones that are singing and dancing and saying, "Fuck you! You're burning. We're gonna stay alive by singing and dancing." And I'm awed. I'm awed at the difference in my life. It came about in 2010 when I decided, okay, this is like not working for me. I'm getting banned from places all the time. And all I've got for friends are assholes that are, you know, happy that I'm saying the shit that I'm saying. And I'm alienating the people I'm trying to reach, the people on the fence that are undecided. You know, the people that are sincerely trying to live an honest life. And I was alienating those people. And I decided, okay, I'm going to take the high road and avoid this as best I can. And that's what I've been doing. And I don't know, I don't keep count. I've got hundreds of friends and followers here and at Facebook. And I've got 1,000 people in 2 Facebook groups. And I'm posting into groups that got to have 250,000 population total, you know, and getting incredible feedback, humbling. You know, it's just like, oh man, I don't even know how to respond to that. You embarrassed me. And the gratitude of the local rainbows for just 2 minutes. I spoke for less than 2 minutes and made a whole mess of new friends and got all these hugs and thanks and shit for doing it. Cheered for me when I said I was going to have a 65th birthday. My anti-fan club thinks that there are only going to be 5 people there. My birthday's on Day of the Dead, and I'm in the Barrio Santa Rosa. You think there's only going to be 5 people in my drum circle? You're out of your fucking mind. I get going on that pollute, I'll bring people from a mile around. Regardless of how many people are actually coming to my birthday party. This is what I do. It's what I've done all my life. I can get 300 people to gather around me just by making noise. Idiots. And I really need to get up from here. Okay, so anybody saying anything lately? Nope. Hi folks. Talk to me, because I'm just rambling, and I need to get up. I don't have any pants on. Yeah, I need to go get some pants on or something. Let me finish with this thread. Yeah, and So anyway, back to Tony's dissertation, because that's what she does. She gives a big dissertation. I got to find the lines that really matter to people. I probably should contact her at her blog, because I can't keep continuity. I have 2 accounts, and now they're both blocked for a week. The other one's blocked still for 2 weeks. Okay, so this applying stigmas makes it violence. Recognizing that the ignorance or inability to see the intent present does not change or reduce the harm done to others by that violence seems like a really good way to encourage people to learn more, to focus more on uplifting others, and to empower trans people as a whole in situations where they face those who are members of the larger powered population, cis people, who engage in that same violence themselves, such as TERFs and respected academics and so forth. I don't know if, like, you can call Ken Zucker or Blanchard or them, man, respected academics, though. Then note that we provide a definition of these things that enables those who need to learn more, and that those things shape and define our decisions in a forum where there are people who the most common thoughts are direct inversions of those things. Common ground bed for cis folk, trans folk, and those around in between. None of which is bad, but all of which there are many other locations for. So we, that is myself, Kelly Winters, and Greer Serenu, use those rules to mitigate our own biases as well as provide a space where in an ideal world, those issues would never arise. So through these rules, 3 simple ones to drive a core, we can help to temper that, inform those who might be ignorant if they choose to engage instead of learn, and provide consideration of the vast possibilities that comprise the lives of trans people the world over. And that's where it is. If they engage instead of listen, if they, ask questions, but don't be like coming back at people telling you true facts and true life experience with conjecture. That's, for us, that's where it becomes counterproductive to continue the conversation. That these things are all well known. There's a mountain of legal precedent. There's a mountain of medical evidence. The public opinion polls say that people are sick and fucking tired of the whole debate, and wish that the people hating on queer people would just stop doing it already. Let's get real. If people want to learn, teach. If they want to argue, walk away. And I really need to do that with trans people more. I'm blocked twice in a row for engaging a trans person who was being aggressive with me as politely as I possibly could, and I was blocked, which is okay because that just adds to my discrimination complaint against Facebook. Hi, see, I'll be the one. Hey, Milton, I got blocked again. Oh, hi, Rachella, right? Yeah, how you doing, sweetheart? Here, have a wrench. I got blocked again. That's what I was talking about. I'm blocked for a week, so I'm gonna be here. I'm only gonna be at Hangouts, Discord. I won't be at Facebook at all this week except to read. Yep, I sure have. Thank you, Jenny. Love you, Mama. Crazy. This is crazy. I'll be here. I was kind of talking to Milton when I was saying what was going on. I was talking about, if you just joined us, the subject is eating our own, and the way this morning has played out, and I'm gonna quit soon. I'm not gonna hang out very long. I need to just wash up and go take care of some things. I need to go pick up a prescription and go do a little foraging around the university. very tight on cash and food stamps right now. I need to go and dumpster. Yeah, I heard you were getting impersonated. I think we talked about it. I don't know. Oh yeah, you were getting impersonated at AMB or something. It was obviously not you. At this point, in both of our lives, we're anchors to each other's past and allies in the present. She and I fought a battle together in 1987 that I only survived because of her and her husband. And now we're slugging it out here for human rights together. Happy Labor Day. Shit. And I lost a piece of writing I won't be able to upload. It's just been sitting there for days. A really good piece of writing about garbology. I'm not sure what I should do with it. And it's only half finished too. Fuck. I left like several. This conversation, I never got to reply to that. I just barely got to read it when I got blocked. There's a real good discussion going on. Lonnie Bergswall about the shooter. It's another white guy, but this one doesn't seem to be like a serious white nationalist, just somebody with an anger management problem that flipped out. In either case, there was enough priors on him that he shouldn't have been able to buy an AK-47 and have it in his possession. As what it comes down to. This one was genuinely a mental illness break and not a racist extremist terrorism act. But in either case, he should not have, because of the past history to him, he shouldn't have been able to get that fucking weapon so easily. I mean, you know, ban the fuckers and you're still going to be able to buy one if you have enough money and know where to look. How do I recommend getting rid of guns? I don't recommend getting rid of guns. My recommendation about guns from this thread. So I come into here asking, have we got a clear motive yet? Or just another angry white man going postal, and one of the brothers in that circle, Al Goodmote. Basically, Lonnie's representative of one of the graybeard old hippie biker types. And Al's one of his buddy, and TJ Goodmote is his wife. Being kind of a half and half like this gets kind of confusing when you start talking about it. And because you gotta respect everybody's fucking preferences. I'm sorry, I slipped, man. Okay, so Al comes in. He was fired from his job only a few hours earlier. I don't know the time frame, but he was also on a previous date threatened his neighbor with a rifle. Sometime in the last few months, law did nothing. They need to make it like a driver's license and registration trip is what my attitude is. Written and practical test and a proof of financial responsibility to get the license and safety inspection to get the weapon. And then people who want to register, and this is the term, not assault rifle. because it's not just rifles, but hand grenades and all sorts of crazy shit. So the proper term here to be using is battlefield grade weapons. And people who want to register them should automatically be enlisted in the state militia as directed by the Second Amendment, and have to play the same way as if they had volunteered for the National Guard. And Lonnie just came in with a link to this guy's history. Here's what shot up Odessa the other day. One of my good friends, Margaret Jones' family is from there. Her daughters live there. She's from there. She just moved to Syracuse to be with Daryl. At 10:54 p.m. on the New York Post, one of our favorite tabloids. Looks like somebody connected to Jeffrey Epstein case disappeared. We'll read that one too. Texas mass shooter threatened neighbor shot animals from roof. Neighbor of the Odessa shooter says she reported police last month after he threatened her with a rifle for leaving trash near his property, but cops couldn't find his house on account of having no GPS or electricity. The woman told CNN that, okay, so he's living in a house off the grid. Would often sit on top of his home and shoot animals at night, which he would then retrieve afterward, probably to cook and eat. She said cops tried to confront Ator following her report to them last month, but his property didn't show up on GPS and was difficult to find, totally off the grid. Ator would often sleep inside his Toyota Camry with the heat on when the weather would get too cold, the woman said. He also had no running water. Another neighbor told Newswest 9 that she too was visited by Ator, who showed up at her door with his rifle. It was unclear that what sparked the incident. The woman said Ator owned at least 2 guns. Oh, and leave it to the Post for a line like this. Cops shot and killed the Texas madman following a shooting rampage in Odessa on Saturday. He managed to kill 7 people and wounded more than 20 others. So I don't know here if there was adequate intervention prior to the incident to determine that the guy was a fruitcake. Looks like there wasn't. Looks like it was a fruitcake living off the grid that flipped out when he got pressed too hard. So I don't know if there would even be anything that would have prevented this. It's just one of them things. Some crazy guy living off the grid got caught and blew his cork. But it's clearly a nut, not a terrorist. Well, look at all we got here. We got one of the few tolerable right wingers in my whole reader base. Hi, Joe. Happy Labor Day. Yeah, well, okay. Let's go from there. The wording of the of the amendment says well-regulated militia. So this is my contention that there's no excuse to not regulate access to these materials to people that are not competent to own them, and that there should be a pretty simple, inexpensive way for law-abiding citizens to go through the registration and licensing process. That's number one. And this is I'm talking from gun safety advocates talk about this. I'm not talking about First Amendment versus Second Amendment. I'm talking about the gun safety advocates and what their opinions are. I'm approaching it from a safety a regulatory position, saying that regulations are appropriate under the Constitution for the public safety. And this is definitely, there are more people killed by firearms now than there are people killed in highway accidents. So if we require a written and practical task and proof of financial responsibility to license a vehicle, there's no excuse for not making the same requirement for licensing a firearm. And the same thing for the firearm itself. It needs to pass the safety inspection. You need to show financial liability. So what? It does not, you're saying that people are automatically in the militia just by buying a gun. And I'm saying, well, that militia needs to be well regulated. So when you do buy that gun, you're automatically registered in militia and you need to fucking report. That's all I'm saying. Yes. Can I help you? All right, you better work on your Chinese accent, idiot. Apples and oranges, Joe. We're comparing guns to driving. Okay? There is nothing about owning a car or operating it on a public highway that defines it as a privilege. Yet we've accepted the regulations on it for the sake of public health. The same needs to happen for guns. AMA has been all over this for many years. Do you realize that more people kill themselves with guns or kill somebody they know in a fit of rage, or their kid gets hold of it and kills somebody, that are actually being killed by people in mass shootings or in violent criminal acts, as part of a criminal, some other criminal venture? More people are killing themselves and their family members. Something needs to be done about that, man. And I believe it's in licensing and registering of the owner and the weapon. And this is where gun safety advocates are, and I know a lot of them that are veterans. They'll say the same fucking thing. Yeah, we need to do that. I'm telling you that the Constitution says that, what you're claiming, that you're automatically in a militia. I'm saying your militias are full of shit and they need to be well regulated. I'm saying enforce it. I'm saying interpret it honestly and enforce the well-regulated clause. Don't give me any of this bullshit. There's a well-regulated clause and there's no excuse for these people not to be registering their weapons for the malicious use. So fuck off with that bullshit. Okay, do we have a prank or a real person? Hi.
It's a real person.
Yeah, prove it.
I was watching the stream and I heard this woman call in previously, and I would just like to say that I agree with her because you're a stupid fat whore.
Bye. I'm a stupid fat whore. And this stupid fat whore is gonna get up for a moment because I'm not wearing any pants. I need to go put a bottom on so I can walk around a little bit because I'm not gonna be sitting here very long. I'll probably just like walk around and do some of the things I have to do while I talk to the camera until I'm ready to go at this point. I don't want to repeal the Second Amendment, man. I want to enforce it properly. And who was it? I forget who it was. One of the Chief Justices. Oh, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'll be right back. I just needed to turn the camera up so that I can walk away without you seeing my pee-pee. Okay, we're back. Oh, pants. Nice legs, huh? But I'm a fake tranny. Here, have some cleat shot. There's some cleat for you. So who's still here besides Joe? See that, Joe, here you're saying anyone with a gun is automatically part of the militia. Where do you get off not regulating the militia? You know, all we got is Al-Qaeda's and Boko Haram's everywhere. That they're doing more harm than good down here on the border. You better fucking believe that. Some have been busted, impersonating police officers and shit. Ooh. And low. Wishing everybody a happy Labor Day with the history of the Pullman strike in 1894. I'm not interested in anything you're selling me, man. Goodbye. In 1894, which is what led to Labor Day, was the Pullman strike in 1894. Very bloody mess on the south side of Chicago in the Pullman yards. And she had blogged about that. And I came back with Sweet Home Chicago. Lots of victories won by organized labor in my hometown. My mother's family were builders and patriarchs of Chicago's IBEW local. Happy Labor Day, Lo. And gave her the history of the Haymarket Square riot, which I think occurred before the Pullman strike. Yeah. It was on May 4th, 1886, or a labor protest rally near Chicago's Haymarket Square turned into a riot after someone threw a bomb at police. At least 8 people died as a result of the violence that day. Despite a lack of evidence against them, 8 radical labor activists were convicted in connection with the bombing. The Haymarket riot was viewed as a setback for the organized labor movement in America, which was fighting for such rights as the 8-hour workday. At the same time, the men convicted in connection with the riot were viewed by many in the labor movement as martyrs. So that was the Haymarket riot. And then the Pullman, let's see what she wrote about the Pullman. That was a bloody mess too. But totally different. Because it was a strike. So she's got a video here. Let's see if she's got just some text we can read to you. Come on, I don't want to see the videos. I want to see what we said about it. It's only videos. Shit. Just a bunch of links. She and Jenny are my 2 go-to people for socialism. Anything you want to know about socialism, you want an accurate, real response, go to them. Unfortunately, Lo cops out a lot and just refers to her blog, and now I'm looking at the blog and it's not really shit she wrote. But oh well, she knows her stuff, apparently. But nobody knows her stuff like Jenny. Nobody at all, ever, anywhere I've ever met, can explain that shit to you, and just has just right there on the tip of her tongue, whatever she needs to know, whatever you want to know about socialism, Jenny can tell you without looking it up. Me, anything you want to know about Zionism's relation to Judaism, I can pretty much tell you without looking it up. Same thing with anything you want to know about being transgender. My real thing is fish. I haven't done that in 40 years or something. I don't know. It's been a long time. 1982 was the last time I worked with Fish. But I know a lot of shit about the transgender reality, and I know a lot of shit about Zionism versus Judaism. And I've been watching this country go into the toilet since they shot John Kennedy. God's a journalist. From 1963, my story starts. Always been in the street, hustling people. But honestly, I'm no grifter. I give a fair quid pro quo. I give a lot more than I get, usually. But it's okay. I have fun. I've always had fun. No, it's like, okay, I got to live with this thing and not kill anybody. I'm going to have fun. I mean, this has just been my, and it's the mother. I can feel her tickling my legs right now. Father just grabs my heart and is like, when you see me raging, that's the father's voice. When I'm like this, the mother's guiding my tongue. That's the two spirit. Is that I feel the earth and I feel the sun and I feel them as completely different energies, and they move me in completely different ways. The sun is my father, the earth is my mother. And that's how I live my life. And they insist that I be honest and I be kind and that I be gentle and that I share whatever I can possibly share to bring a smile to somebody's face. That's been my mission on this planet, is only to educate and entertain. I'm not here to fight any fights for anybody's reasons. If God himself came and told me to kill you, I'd tell him to do it himself. That's my role in reality. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I've got lots of kindred spirit gathering around me, people that are much stronger in their knowledge of some things, and much stronger in their ability to live a clean and pure and righteous life. I'm a scuzzball. I admit I'm a scuzzball. It's the only way I've been able to survive in this world. I'm a scuzzball. My place is a mess. That's from when I was a child. My father had to climb over the shit to get to me to beat me. And when I was on the road, you saw the video from 1985. I was filthy and skinny, but I smelled bad. I'm sure I remember smelling real bad back then. And there was nothing I could do about it except jump in the ocean. And I didn't want to do that because it was so badly polluted. I only did it once. I paint wrestled with Christopher Eves one time. We dumped buckets of, we had a quart of blue paint, a quart of red paint. We each dumped a bucket of that on each other. And then we threw a bucket of white down on a tarp and then wrestled in it. That was the only time I ever actually jumped in the ocean there, was to go wash the paint off. Well, it's already polluted. That's a good place to do it. But that's been my life. I have no other reason for being other than to find the truth about things people want to know and share it with them, and do things they want. Make noises they want to hear. It's that really. I call my flute my passport to anywhere. Make noises people want to hear. Make a happy sound of music on the street, and people will make sure you eat. They will give you food, or they will give you money. Well, I should turn. Leave it there before I go start and run around in circles. That's just messing around on the 145 line was all that was. Modulating it and fooling around. And got to a point where it's like, okay, where? And it's like, no, I'll just keep going in circles. And I don't like going in circles unless I'm. What do I think of Ray Manzarek? He was one of my favorite keyboard players of that era for sure. You know, I liked. He had a nice boogie sound. You know, he get that do. He had a good. He keep a really good beat. I never could do that. I'm a melody. I can run melodies around. But with the piano, I never could play. What you just heard, that's the best I can do. Ray was one of my favorite of that era. Keith Emerson was the one I like to listen to the most. Rick Wakeman was good. Who else? Boy, there were a lot of them. Some black guy, a couple of black guys. Yes, hello.
The person that's named Melo Keeper in the chat on your stream.
Excuse me.
I'm
I'm sorry, I didn't understand a word you said. Could you repeat that, please?
The person in the chat named Melo Keeper rocks.
Right.
He's a registered sex offender.
I don't care.
Why is it? Is it because you're a registered sex offender yourself?
No, it's because it's like irrelevant to my reality. There's nobody for him to offend. It's more offensive for you to be calling me and like exposing somebody like that without any even like proof of what you're saying. That's not right.
I have proof.
Well, why should I even care? So what? Why should that matter to me? I'm doing a broadcast that has nothing to do with any of that. And someone shows up that asks me about what I think of Ray Manzarek, and now I've got some anonymous caller on the phone telling me, oh, that guy's a sex offender. And when it's like totally irrelevant to what's going on here, and I don't give a fuck. And who are you?
My name is Willie Johnson.
Willie Johnson. I see. So you're a dick.
I'm a what?
Willie and Johnson are both synonymous with penis. So you're a penis. Schmuckputz, we call them in Yiddish.
Yeah, and I'm sure you would like to suck me, wouldn't you?
No. You probably don't have enough money to get me to even put it in my hand.
So, to my understanding, you're a registered sex offender.
Well, you've been lied to because I've never even been accused of a sex crime by anybody but internet trolls, you idiot. So goodbye. Oh no, I'll let you keep going because you're being really stupid. All right. James Parisa brought that one to the Gem Show last February. And when the cop showed up and told him I wasn't, then he pulled out a video that they'd clipped from a video of mine where I was talking about how I was talking about all the things they were falsely accusing me of. And they clipped it out to make it sound like I was admitting to them. So he shows that to the show promoter. And she insisted on the guy that I was working with that he get rid of me or she was going to throw him out. based on this lie. And Joe, you're a party to that. You know that. You're a party to that. You're not, if you're bullshitting me about your actual exposure to the criminal behavior at that site, or not, doesn't matter. You're a party to that shit. You're gonna need to talk your way out of it. If I ever get it to the court. Might as well, as long as I'm here, I really want to get out of here. Probably should wait until about 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock is when I want to get out of here. As long as we're at it, might as well see what's going on with the idiots. Today at 10:39, I think I saw that. Let's just refresh that. Oh yeah, so they're active on the main. What makes you think we haven't met? Because we haven't. None of you have ever walked up to me, especially not Gary Purdue. I know there's anybody at time that had physical altercation that he wanted. I rarely get into physical altercations. I haven't really been in one since July 4th, 1920. What was it, about 2010? What was the last time I actually was in a physical altercation and the cops had to come and take me off top of the guy? And I wasn't fucking him. I was just pinning him to the ground by his throat. The bus group, the bus group hit me. He hit me twice. I popped him once in the head, kept going. He came up behind me, hit me in the legs. That didn't stop me. So he hit me in the head and that didn't stop me. Oh no, it was hit me in the head and that didn't stop me. So he hit me in the legs and that didn't stop. I just kept walking. Didn't turn around, nothing. Oh, I think this is the one we just had. I better just block that. I didn't want another. No, I didn't want that. I didn't call for that. I want this. Yeah, that was the same guy. I don't want to do that. I want to, like, oh, there it is. Block number. Boom. Yeah, I think tomorrow I just walk up to the police station with the camera running and ask to see somebody in the chief's office. This is that's a block that one too. Okay. Oh, here's the idiot. Everybody, we're talking about real things and what real things, how way real things operates, and as everybody pays in cash or kind for food and space resources they consume while they're here. And these are not company. These are people that are, what kind of friend? I'm not their friend. I'm not their fucking friend. They're coming to me as family looking for help. They're going to pay, at least with washing the floors and the dishes. No, I don't need their cash. I need their labor. And reasonable ones are real happy to have a comfortable space to use for a couple of days in exchange for washing some dishes. Assholes. Oh, if $10 or an hour's labor to crash in the yard with bathroom, kitchen, and studio privileges So here's ask. Someone has to do an hour's worth of work just to use the shitter? No. Someone needs to do an hour's worth of work to stay 24 hours and use the shitter, the kitchen, the bathtub. Fuck you. I had during Gem Show one year, I had so many come through my bathroom that they consumed in a week a year's worth of Dr. Bronner's. For me, fuck off with that turbo juice shit. Well, Megan dodge a bullet, can't tune in. Too fucking bad. I'm kind of both, holy shit. And ask another stupid question and you're gone. Okay, bye. Now, we don't tolerate your kind around here. Take it somewhere else. See what else these idiots are spurging about. Do I get my stuff anywhere else? Of course I do. I buy all sorts of things cheap at thrift stores and online. We used to buy those little disposable lighters for 10 for it cost us 10 for $1, and we'd sell them for $1 a piece. I taught a lot of people a lot of shit about. I mean, in my prime, when I was in my prime, my uncle and I were making $1,500 a week on garbage. Okay, but we'd buy our garbage. We were buying whole rooms full of garbage for $1. There's something. Oh yeah, I'm streaming. I was responding to Jenny. Oh yeah, terrible. Real bad. Real bad. I can't. If I'm not wearing glasses, I can't see more than 8 feet in front of my face without it being a blur. So anyway, so we get back to. I mean, I don't know who's here. You know, speak up who's here, because I really need to just get going. Yeah, here's Kamala Harris says Israel meets human rights standards overall. I got to read this. This is like, okay, give it a rest, baby. You know, nobody's going to vote for you that I'm talking to if you're going to do this shit. Interview with New York Times Democratic presidential hopeful Kamala Harris says she believes Israel meets international human rights standards overall. Declaration comes less than a week after Israel wounded 92 Palestinian civilians during a weekly protest at the Gaza border, including 28 children and 4 medics. Harris made the comments about Israel during a New York Times feature in which the paper asked a number of the candidates 21 questions. One of the questions was, do you think Israel meets international standards of human rights? Think that Israel as a country is dedicated to being a democracy? No, it's not. It's a plutocratic oligarchy. It's controlled by 18 families. And it's one of our closest friends in that region. Well, that's because our country is a plutocratic oligarchy controlled by those same 18 families and a few more. And that we should understand the shared values and priorities that we have as a democracy. We don't have any as a democracy in this country, ma'am. This is a democratic, this is a representational republic. You're supposed to be representing our interests, not what you think you should be doing about Israel. You need to be listening to what we tell you about Israel and go from that. Conduct foreign policy in a way that's consistent with the understanding of the alignment between the American people and Israel. Yeah, if American people knew, www.ifamericans.knew.org, they would know that America is behind Israel's entire existence. And that was the plan of America from the very beginning, because these people seek world domination. It's the same fucking people that made America made Israel. America is a genocidal, slave-keeping lie. The Civil War was fought over what kind of slavery would be in America: direct plantation slavery, direct ownership of the people, or wage slavery and debt slavery that we have today. Debt slavery works better because you deceive the people into thinking that everything's okay and that all they got to do is work harder. You're fucking stupid. The owners of this country, to quote one of my mentors, they don't see it that way. You're just fucking chattel. You're just property. You're just a resource to be utilized and exploited in any way they can possibly get the fuck away from it. And instead of you recognizing who your oppressor is, you dumb motherfuckers do exactly what LBJ said. As you convince a white man that it's the black man's fault keeping him down, he's not going to notice that you're picking his pocket. End of rant. I wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. I'd vote for Vermin Supreme first. Oh, hi, Rachella. Who knows? Who knows? You know, who fucking knows? It's just one of them trolls. You know, I'm a targeted individual, have been for many, many years. And you know, I recovered from Peter Norton, the computer guy, Symantec, all that Norton utility and shit, the guy that wrote it. I recovered from his garbage a classified document that had been printed out from a computer modeling study that they had run at Rand Corporation that he should have shredded, but didn't, that talked about the recommendations for responding to domestic terrorism and to the charismatic leaders leading revolutionary actions against the establishment. And I guess I would be labeled either a constitutionalist or a millennialist. potential terrorist. What was the term they used? It was um, God, what was it? There was a term, specific term about what I was that made me a potential terrorist. Something like disgruntled, disgruntled citizen, potential terrorist. That's what they label me. And there's a homicidal potential flag in my federal jacket. It's a lot of fun when the cops check me up, local cops check me up, and they run myself to the NCIC. Everything's all cool and polite because like they're getting me for playing music in a place where they don't want me to play music usually. And so everything's way cool. They're just, doing their job and checking me out and yada, yada, yada. And I can't be there or they'll come back and say, okay, we can't, there's nothing we can do to make you go away. Boy, I got a story from '89. I talked down 4 different police agencies in Washington, D.C. in front of the Lincoln Memorial in 1989. I'll tell that story a little later. But what'll happen is like everything's all cool because really they're only making sure that I'm like don't have any warrants and whether they're within their authority to make me go away. That's usually what it is. And they'll come back pulling on the latex gloves, asking me questions about my medications. If I want to hurt anybody or anything, I say, no, man, I was just playing music. So in 1989, I was traveling cross country as the lead vehicle in one of David Williams' fantasy projects called the Red World Peace Tour. I was the lead vehicle, and I had on board a fellow by the name of Lover of Horses, who claimed to be Geronimo's great grandson through a general that had married Geronimo's daughter. And I've never checked out the story, but he was funny as hell riding cross country with him. He lived on a bicycle, so we had the bike on board, and all his gear. He carried a couple of cases around with him full of jeweling, wire working stuff, and that was what he lived off of. He'd go into McDonald's and grab a cup of coffee toward the end of the breakfast hour, and then he'd sit in the dumpster waiting for the breakfast bag to come out. And he'd get all leftovers hot, still warm, and take off down the road with a whole box of food for the day. But he was riding with me, and he'd be watching the countryside going by, grumbling the whole time. I wish these fucking white guys would go back to Europe and take their stinking roads and telephone poles and shit with them. And I have to agree. I'm really an indigenous person. I was blessed to have been born into a family that was privileged enough to be able to city, but to be able to enjoy the natural beauty of this country too. We visited a lot of places. We go fishing a lot. Benefits of getting food that places throw away that is still good. Well, it saves me. When I was living near the university, it was saving me a solid $150 a month in groceries. There was shit I'd pull out of garbage that I couldn't afford to buy. I find ridiculous things in the garbage. I found sealed bottles of booze, bottles of wine where they had a glass inside, they didn't like it, pitched the rest. Packages of unopened stuff, especially when classes broken, they just cleaned shit out, loaded what they wanted in their car, and drove away. There'd be stuff that I could sell. It's not just food. My linens, my cookware, stuff like that, all came out of the garbage. It's money. It's always been that way. There's always been sale wars. It's been in my family for many generations. You know, my grandparents' generation had people that were, my great grandfather was a ragman, and so you know, this is a family tradition for me. I'm upholding, and as far, you know, we're Levites, so like we're the ones that cleaned up the mess always. Always, it was Levites that cleaned up the mess and moved down the road, because it was on us to protect the scrolls. So we didn't give a fuck about anything else but the scrolls. Levites, when the shit started hitting the fan, Levites are just all about the scrolls. And we never had any allotment in the land. It was our job to care for the scrolls. And so here I am, you know, living. You know, the government's kind enough to, you know, they declared me unemployable, and in exchange they give me a psychiatric disability. And leave me alone. They don't be locking me up and filling me full of drugs all the time, which is nice. They used to do that. So, you know, here I'm able to live on the fringe pretty comfortably because the government's paying enough of my overhead to where I can afford to have a roof over my head, and, you know, have my communications paid for and transportation paid for and some of my food. I'm not able to pay for all of my food with what the government gives me. Between the food stamp, I get about $1,025 total between the stamps and the check, or maybe $1,000. It's about $1,000 total. I think it's $930 and $75 is what I'm getting. And that I can't live comfortably on less than $1,500, which I'm able to put together between what I recover from the garbage and what I can earn with my horns and stones. So, you know, I'm living pretty fat and sassy, too fat. You know, I need to take some of this off, and the only way to do it is going to be to exercise. I have to admit it. You know, my diet's as good as I can get it, and I'm not losing weight because I'm sitting at the terminal too much. I'm not getting out and doing enough. I need to be practicing my horn at least 4 hours a day instead of going out there and playing for a couple hours. You know, I don't have any tunes hardly to pull out for people. You know, everybody's wanting me to play Careless Whisper in Baker Street, and I'm like, oh no, fuck that. Because I really have to work hard on both of those because they're in bad keys and way up high on the horn, where it breaks a lot. What else? What can I say? You know, I'm a pretty happy camper right now. The only thing missing from my life is a lover and a lawyer. I have wonderful friends all over the world that are sharing themselves with me, and, you know, giving me great feedback on what I'm saying and saying great shit themselves. And I'm not going, you know, and I'm not going viral on anything, and it's manageable. You know, even the harassment is manageable, and in a way is partly driving the increase in my exposure to cool people. So so far there hasn't been enough of a danger to me to get the cops to do anything. I'm going to find out tomorrow if the 9/11 prank wasn't past their threshold. Because if it isn't, and they're not going to do anything about that, these guys are plotting to swat me. How are they going to swat me? And I have to have, you know, with that kind of imminent threat, it crosses the Brandenburg boundary of protection for speech. There is an imminent threat. There has been financial harm. There are other people being harmed by it. It's time. TPD is going to do it, or I have to. And I think with that, I'm going to cut it off. I need to be doing other things this afternoon. Thanks for coming. Happy day. Bye.